Welcome to another episode of Remote Control Sports. I'm John Sartori. It's time for a roll call. Today we've got Dylan Dome,
What's up? I don't
Richie
know.
Solera,
Howdy.
and for the first time ever, we're bringing on a brand new host. We're growing substantially. Jermaine Kelley.
How's
Jermaine
it going,
Kelley,
guys?
welcome to the show. The
What's up,
big
man? Thanks
German's
for
here.
having me. Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about the possibility of the NCAA tournament starting college basketball season next year. We're going to talk about some of the new NFL rules, Donald Trump's press or conference call with all the commissioners of the major sports leagues, and we're also going to talk about The Office. Throw some pop culture in there. Dylan is watching The Office for the first time,
Yep.
so we're gonna get his thoughts on that. But we start today with news that was released within the hour that we're recording this. The NBA considering canceling the remainder of the season. They are looking at options as to what to do about this. Let's just start it off with you, Dylan. What are your thoughts on all this? This is just evolving so quickly.
Yeah, I think that it has to do with a lot with the conference call that we're going to talk about later with Donald Trump. Is the fact that he doesn't predict fans to even be in the stands till late August, September at best. So for them to have an NBA game with no fans, I think that's one of the things that a lot of players were very vocal about that they did not want to do. They would rather almost play no games than play any game with fans. So I don't think they would want to go through a playoff game, and it goes to like the finals. Imagine the finals without any fans. It'd be kind of crazy to say. And then by that time, you're so close to the season starting for the next season anyway. So you just keep constantly pushing stuff back. I know this sucks for all the fans, because it's not something you want to have. But I know that for them at their part of the season right now, it's probably the best option for them.
If that happens, my prediction for
Yeah, your
when
prediction's
sports are
out.
going to come back is gone.
Yeah.
It's blown up. Jermaine, again, when we shot our first episode on Friday, we were talking about what should they do when they return. Now it's a question of if the NBA will return. If you were in charge and you don't have a season, do you give a um, do you give a championship out, or is there just an asterisk for this season?
I think I would just put an asterisk actually, because like a lot, like watching this NBA season, like a lot of different things could have happened. You had a lot of teams growing, and a lot of teams like dropping down in the standings. So, like, there's no like set answer of what would have happened at the end of this NBA season. So I think I would just put an asterisk by it.
But if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, and Richie, I want you to chime in on this. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks and you're having a season like we talked about in the NCAA, like a San Diego State or a Dayton, a once in a generation type season. Obviously, it's different for professional sports, and the Bucks are going to be very good for a long time because of Giannis. But this is a season that the fans in Milwaukee have been waiting for, most of them their entire lives, and now you're telling them that they can't have it.
It's rough, but I think at this point it's what needs to happen. As much as we would love to see the playoffs, I mean, Dylan mentioned it. They're not going to play without fans in the stadium. Heck, LeBron with the Lakers as good as they're doing. LeBron said he won't play if there's not fans in the stands. So I feel for them. I do. I feel for the fans, but at this point, you've got to do it. I mean, you've had doctors this week and medical professionals saying that, this week they were really going to be scared of it's going to get worse and worse. We have no idea how long this is going to last. And we'll get into that later, but I think that's a big part of the reason why they're now talking about this season cancellation, because this is not getting any better. I mean, they're now starting to shut down some grocery stores. It makes sense, and it's sad that just a few days ago we were talking about playoffs and now it's come to this, but I think that the fans and the teams are just going to have to deal with it. It is a unique situation that will most likely never happen again, at least in our lifetimes. So, unfortunately, they've just got to tough it out and move on.
And I think one of the things that they did to almost weigh out the options, that they said, do we just cut this season and start from the very beginning next season, play a full season next season, or do we extend this season out to September and then cut next season shorter a little bit? And I think they probably decided, let's just play a full season starting next year, just start over basically and give the teams all next year to play.
I think that's the right call.
anyone can answer this. Do you think that there needs to be a buffer period of us taking at least a few days to see where this is at? Because what I think is so fascinating with all of this is how quickly it's evolving. And it has since back in March, how every day we're hearing something different. First, it was March 30th, we were going to hear something new. Then it was April 13th, we're going to hear something new. Then it's May, then it's June. Can't we just sit back for a second and see what's happening instead of just saying something?
Yeah, of course. That was the original idea. The original idea was to not do anything and not make a decision until March 31st.
But why are we?
And then we're making decisions
say
within
to
there.
say
Yeah.
what we're saying and
Yeah.
to say, oh, we're oh, there's talks of canceling it.
Yeah.
How about we get a few days of just we're
Yeah.
talking about canceling it instead of coming out with something new? Is what I'm saying.
It's human nature. That's just what happens. We can sit here and say, we'll hang back and just consider it and not put it on public. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because this is such a big and significant event, not just in the history of the U.S., but in the history of this world. It's that big. So unfortunately, like this, everything is going to be out there.
It's because we don't have an answer right now, and instead of people waiting and being patient to see what happens, people want answers now. So people are forced to make decisions, even though like you said, John, you can give a grace period of just waiting and seeing what happens, but no one is being patient enough to have that happen. So they're forced to almost make decisions, especially big corporations like the NBA, NFL, things like that.
All right. Well, before we get into our next topic, I want to go over the jerseys today. Richie, you said you got the old school Joe Namath jersey, not the new school.
Yep, as opposed to the new school, the old school Joe Namath.
Yep. All right, and Jermaine, you're wearing the Drew Brees, the non-all-decade team member Drew Brees jersey.
Wow.
Disrespectful, but it's also Black and Gold Monday. We got Saints Falcons Monday Night Football tonight. So
that's the one topic we didn't talk about that we were supposed to in the last episode was what are your thoughts on watching old games as a form of entertainment? That's the one game that I actually want to see is that game. That is such a great game.
Yep, I've already got it in the yard. The entire family is going to be getting in the front room, 7 o'clock, sit down, watch the game. We're going to record it so we can just sit there and watch it over and over.
Because I don't know if you guys know that my favorite play of that whole game is the fact that the Gleason play almost didn't happen because Mike Vick fumbled on third down, and the Saints had a touchdown, and the guy who's coincidentally his name is Byron Scott, no relation to Hornets head coach Byron Scott, couldn't pick it up, or else none of this happens.
Yeah, and that was my favorite part too, because growing up as a diehard Saints fan in a family that was a diehard Saints fan family, that entire year was special. But after that game, after seeing our community and houses destroyed, the Saints are back against the hated rivals, the Falcons, against Michael Vick, who's so amazing but couldn't stand him. And then on that play, all of a sudden we sack him, he fumbles. It's, oh my God, this is great. We got a piece of Vic. Like that there was like, all right, there's hope. And then the Steve Gleason punt. That moment was so iconic. When they got in the end zone, my dad and I were jumping up and we just grabbed and we hugged each other. It was something new. That game is almost more memorable than the Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, it means so much more than the Super Bowl, just with what it meant.
No, I have a question. I have a question because I didn't grow up in a household with a bunch of diehard Saints fans. But like for you, Richie, especially, or you, Jermaine, watching that game tonight and watching that play, do you celebrate it like it's almost live?
Oh, absolutely.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Absolutely.
You're a liar.
Absolutely.
You're a liar.
You know what's happening.
You know what's going to happen.
You're not going to have that same enthusiasm, but because you know what's going to happen and because you know how big of a moment it was, not just in Saints history, but New Orleans history, it's going to build up. And when it comes, I guarantee at least my father and I are going to be up in the air screaming. I know we are.
See, that's why I have problems with watching these old games, is because you know exactly what happens. However, I do like watching the games that I have no idea what happens. Like there are some games on TV, like, not gonna lie, I've been watching a lot of the Longhorn Network. Boy, Vince Young in his prime, amazing. Fantastic. Today I watched Texas versus Kansas State. Did not know Darren Sproles went to Kansas State.
Wow.
That dude was
Really?
electric. Yeah. So I watched that full game today. It was awesome.
All right, a little tease before we continue on. Dylan, real quick, what are you wearing? We didn't talk.
The TB12.
Yep,
Don't have a jersey
TB12.
today, but we're always got Tom Brady, even though he's not on the team anymore. He's actually my, I don't know if it's be shown. He's my Apple Watch background. Obviously the picture right here, got the Patriot helmet up there. You can't see it, but above I have a Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady celebration in the game. So always Patriots.
WWE champion Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Before we continue on, a little tease. Later on this week, we've got a very special guest, our first ever guest. Don't want to reveal who it is, but we're going to go over our top 5 college football players, our personal ones with them. That's coming up later in the week. So let's get into our next topic, which was going to lead off the show, the conference call with President Donald Trump with all the major sports leagues, aside from the NBA, professional sports leagues. We'll start with you, Jermaine. Your takeaways from that call. How did you feel when you read about what was said in the call in terms of when when you think we're going to get sports back?
Well, my takeaway from it was basically football is going to start on time. So I just assume that basically everything else is going to start around September or August or something like that. And like Dylan said earlier, people they want answers now instead of being patient. So he's basically telling us, hey, at least a target date is September. Yeah, basically September. So I mean, I like it. I mean, I want football to start as soon as possible. I want the NBA back. I want MLB to start as soon as possible. So I hope we can just get some answers soon. So yeah.
Yeah, Dylan, you're a big baseball guy. Were you alarmed with the lack of information on when baseball is going to start from that conference call? Because it felt like all we got from it was football.
Yeah, because we're hearing a lot about football when football doesn't start until September.
Mm-hmm.
We're hearing a lot about it, and obviously it does affect them with terms of practice and getting to know your players and getting the players that you're drafting into your system. Of course, that's a big deal. But the NBA is coming out with a lot right now, and the MLB is literally supposed to be in season right now, and you're hearing nothing about it. That's been very surprising to me. I think that I think they start playing. I think baseball. Now, I don't think my June 7th date is relevant, but I think that they start playing baseball just with no fans. I think if there will be a sport that plays with no fans, it will be the MLB.
Now,
and I think they start playing in late June, July.
Okay. And Richie, I'll end with you before we kind of open it up a little bit. I want to piggyback off of that, because when you read that this was going to be a conference call with every major sport, what was going on in that call? Because we literally got news on one sport.
Yeah. I really don't know. I get why the NFL was the most talked about thing. I mean, it's the biggest sport in the country right now. The draft is coming up, so I guarantee there was discussions about that, which we just found out today. The NFL announced that is going to be all through virtual, console. That there will be no meetings. Coaches will be drafting from their homes. So I get it, but at the same time, it is disheartening because it's almost as if they were saying, look, we know what's going to happen with the NFL, so let's talk about everything. We have no idea what's going to go on with any of the other sports, so we'll just push that aside and focus on the NFL. I think that's why they did. They just don't have the answers. The NFL is lucky enough to where it's got plenty of time before the season starts. Nothing has been pushed back so far. So I think just they're focusing on that, and they don't want to disappoint all of the other sports fans. I think that's what it comes down to.
My whole thing with all of this, though, is that I think there were at least 10 leagues on that call. Were they just sitting there I mean, because if
And you know what's crazy is you're not hearing a statement. You know, you don't have to hear like
yeah.
what the decision, but you're not even hearing a statement to say from the NHL or the MLB from like the commissioner saying we had a long extended talk about this. There are no
Because there's
there's not
no
even
way
that.
they did.
Right.
Because there's no way they did.
Well,
Yeah.
I did
You
see
think
that.
the MLS? You think Donald Trump even knows the MLS exists?
No way.
I
No
one of
way.
one of the things that CNN put in there that they had talked about was President Trump talking with all the different commissioners, possibly about giving to charity and different tax incentives, not just for them but also for the players and staff members. So I think that was maybe a smaller part of encapsulating everyone. I don't know what the full thing was with this. If it was getting on information on every sports or if it was just a general meet and greet, a general discussion, I don't know. But what we do know is the NFL was like the only thing talked about. So
Yeah.
And honestly, we might have looked too much into it. We might have thought that all these groups put together, they would talk about the season starting, and they might not have. They might have just been talking about, like Richie said, what they can do for charity wise, how owners can give back, how the teams can give back. What can you do while still being in quarantine to give back to the people that are still working out there? And it might not have had to do anything with sports, but the NFL made a decision, you know. So
All right, before we get into our final topic, before we get into the second half of the show, which we're going to talk about The Office with Dylan, his first time watching it. On Saturday, we've got our entire mock draft episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're each going to get a 32 team first round draft. We're going to go through it. And shout out Derek again. Derek made all the graphics for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be on Saturday. Probably get the episode up on Sunday. Final discussion. This is the least important one of all of them because it's absolutely hilarious. Bob Huggins, the head coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers, suggests that the NCAA basketball season should start with the NCAA tournament. Richie, you are laughing the hardest. I'll start with your thoughts on it.
I mean, this I don't know. I almost have a lack of words. It is ridiculous. The first thing and most important thing that comes to my mind is, all right, let's say you start the season, there's completely different teams. A lot of those guys are going to be in the NBA. So what are you going to do? You're going to put in their teams that, the season before with players might have made it, but now might be reduced to completely rebuilding and just get decimated by higher seeds. What's the point of that? I get it. We all love March Madness. We wanted to see it, but you can't do that. I mean, that would be like saying, in the NFL, cancel the playoffs and then just put those same teams in the beginning. No, completely different teams, everything, not just players, but all the staff changes, stuff in the front office, since it's college, everything. No, it's ridiculous. I get it. All right. We miss it, but no, just no.
Jermaine, I'll move to you. Because he said this on a radio show. He was asked, "What about the teams that graduate seniors?" He said, "We had 3 seniors. I guarantee they'd all come back." All right, so they come back and they play in the games. Do they just play the rest of the season? Honestly, it's kind of genius because he's just taking the seniors and giving them extra eligibility.
Yeah, like just like Richie said, it's ridiculous. It's like laughable actually. Like you got guys who are gonna be drafted. You got and if you do continue with the team, you're gonna have freshmen guys who are just on a high school campus who are trying to play in an NCAA tournament to start their season. I think it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's no, it's ridiculous. No.
All right, Dylan, I'll end with you. So does that team win the national championship and you go right into
the regular season?
The regular season?
Yeah, it's like how much grace time is there? I don't know. It's so stupid. And like everyone was saying, the NBA draft was supposed to happen on June 25th, I think is what the date was. So then those players get drafted, can go back to school and win a national championship, then go to the NBA. That's dumb as it is. I feel like Bob Huggins also did not hear the memo that winter sports did not get their eligibility back.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's a genius. He found a way around that.
And he also probably woke up with this idea with no deep thought into it, because he was like, those lower schools, it might affect them. He's like, but you know what? For them, they can go play their conference tournament if they want to.
Yeah.
Because for like schools like Southeastern or any school like in the Southland or any school like that, they rely on that conference tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. And he was like, they can play it if they want to. We don't have to in the Big 12, but they can. Like, there was no thought behind it. It was just an idea. He was like, man, that would be fun. The NCAA can make some money. We can make some money out of it. We'd be playing in the tournament. Because if West Virginia was not tournament bound, no idea. He would have no idea about this. He would not bring this up.
Before we get into our final thing, just want to thank everybody for their support. It hasn't been, thousands of views, but just to have, I think we've got almost 50 on our first episode. That was awesome. So
and we got a lot of good stuff coming up.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good. As I said earlier, we've got our first guest coming on Thursday's show. Don't want to reveal who it is, but for those who follow Southeastern Athletics, a familiar face is going to come and join us, and we're going to talk about our top 5 college football players of all time. That's going to be a lot of fun. Again, our mock draft Saturday, and we've got a lot of ideas coming in. If you have any ideas, please let us know, and if you want to be on the show, let us know as well, because we'd love to have you. Again, follow us on Twitter, Remote C Sports, on Instagram, Remote Control Sports. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and tell your friends about the show. Final thing, I want to know what has everyone watched since Friday's show, rather.
Want to go first?
Yeah,
I'm waiting on somebody to take that and run with it. Take that baton and run with it, Big Germ. Go ahead.
Man, I don't really watch TV, actually. But what I have been watching is a lot of Disney Plus. Me, Dylan, and our friend Richie, we have that. So I've just been watching a lot of old shows like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. That's what we've just been living the life, man.
Have any of you guys seen Onward yet?
No, Derek told me about it last night, though. He said you need to check it out. He said it's great.
Fantastic movie. I'm going to do a review on my other YouTube page, but truly one of the best Pixar movies ever.
Really?
You guys need to check it out. It's on Disney Plus. It is fantastic.
We gotta watch it sometime this week. So like for next week's show, we could all talk about it.
Let's do that. Richie, what have you been up to?
Well, the nephew just got into the Shrek movies, so been watching a lot of Shrek. Besides that, I rewatched an old Dragon Ball Z movie from my childhood, and I've been watching a couple guys on YouTube play Mario Maker 2 because those are always fun.
All right, Dylan, The Office, and anything else?
Yeah, I watched Frozen 2 actually this morning for the first time.
I hated it.
I like the soundtrack. That helps. The soundtrack's really good.
But the movie is
not good. No. Yeah, the movie's weird.
Movie's awful.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. My sister was way more into it than I was. But I heard, and I was so disappointed because I had heard so many good things about it. I had heard that he was even better than the first one. And it's not. It's too much.
Who told you this?
A lot of people. Everybody that I've talked to
Liars.
have said Frozen 2 is better than Frozen 1. Since we do
that annoys me.
Yeah, it's not. I haven't watched anything on Disney Plus in a while. I don't get on it as much because The Mandalorian's not on right now. Until that season comes back on, then I'll probably get more on that. But I watched The Masked Singer only because my sister watches it, and she refuses to believe that I know who the people are. Like I was obviously the white tiger was Gronkowski. That was easy. I think Hunter Hayes is actually one of them. I heard his voice. Haven't heard him in a while, so I thought he was one of them. Lego Masters. If anyone hasn't watched Lego Masters, that's a really good show.
I'll check that out. I could care less of a percent about The Masked Singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes in shrieks. Like I could watch like 4 episodes in a day and then not watch it for another month and a half.
But why?
I only watch it if someone else is in the room watching it and wants to. Will Arnett for Lego Masters is kind of a cringy host, so if you get past that, it's fine. But yeah, other than that, try to finish the 22 episodes in season 2 of The Office.
anyone else like feel this way about Will Arnett, that you look at him and you're like, this will be good, and you watch it and you remember he's not funny, but then you go right back to thinking he's funny right after? Because that's how I feel about all his movies. It's like a restaurant that you go to and you're like, why don't I eat here more? Then you eat it, you hate it, and then 2 weeks later you ask yourself the same question, why don't I eat here
See, I've never seen him in a movie where it doesn't do a voiceover,
more? Okay.
so it's hard to
You
kind of
haven't
like
seen
judge
Blades of
that.
Glory?
Uh-uh.
Okay, that's a good one. You should check that out. It's a Will
The
Ferrell.
only thing that I think I've really seen with him in it, he was in a small part of an Office episode down the road.
Yeah, he was.
That's about the only thing I really know him from.
All right. Well,
Also, I know no one's seen this, and I took a picture of it because I thought it was. There's the episode where late in season 2, where for Valentine's Day, Michael goes up to New York City, and he sees, I can't remember who he thinks he sees that's a celebrity.
Tina Fey.
Tina Fey.
It's Tina Fey.
yeah.
Okay. It's Tina Fey, and it's not Tina Fey. And then Conan O'Brien walks right by.
Yeah.
There's a scene like 5 minutes after that. If anyone goes check it out, do it. There's a scene where he's walking towards the camera, and there's a view behind it. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda, a guy who's very famous on Broadway, is walking clear behind him, clearly shows his face. And I heard he's in later episodes too. But I feel since they were in New York City, he'd be in that episode. He doesn't say anything, he doesn't say any lines, but it looks clearly to be him. And I don't know if anyone else has seen it. I took a picture of it and sent it to people that like I know Lin-Manuel Miranda, and they said it looks like him, but I just want to kind of hear feedback on that.
Well, if anybody knows, let us know. But
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Okay.
All right. Really quick, I'm downloading Wreckfest currently. It's a game where you crash your car. Should be a lot of fun.
Well, okay.
And,
So since you're saying that, does anyone play games on their phone?
Yeah.
What do you play?
I
I know you play that weird like fighting game on your phone. You sit down next to me in the office and play that game all the time.
Dragon Ball Z, Dokkan Battle, and it's Jurassic Park, but it's like Pokemon Go. Just Jurassic Park with dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Yep.
I made a $6 purchase, a $5.99 purchase on iTunes. I bought NBA 2K20. Yeah, I bought NBA 2K20, so I've been playing that. Got a career with the Pelicans, so been running with them.
Well, I'm sorry, Dylan.
That's what it's come to. That's what quarantine's come to.
All right, so again, our next episode we're gonna film on Thursday, probably be up Friday. Got a special guest coming on. Stay tuned for that. Again, I've been watching, or I'm gonna play Wreckfest, and I've been watching Twilight. The first movie is awful. Apparently, they get better. So,
Did girlfriend?
Yeah, Rebecca's making me watch it, but that's okay. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So make sure you're following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. We will see you on Thursday. Thursday. We'll see you on Thursday, maybe Friday, everybody. Thanks for watching Remote Control Sports.